become obsessed almost with the ancient mysteries. Each one of them, including Christ's death and resurrection, is a story of sacrifice, of voluntary regressing or becoming depressed, and of restoring yourself. I think that is a dimension of life that we are missing horribly right now, is this kind of capacity for self-renewal. Life was simple when I was young. That was when I lived in the high hills with my mother and her sisters. My earliest memories are full of sunny days, with the voices of women singing in the fields. Even winter was a glory of shining white and ground that rang like a bell. My mother told me later that those days were happy for her also. So from this paradisal state he has to go, unfortunately. Basically it's the story of Tristan reworked, and Tristan's story is not a particularly comforting one, because he discovers in the original myth story that not only has he taken his uncle's wife away from him by enjoying her before the wedding, but he's also been sleeping with his aunt. A fine morning dawned, and we walked out through the gates of the stronghold, across the plain and into the forest. The women who came to open the gates said nothing to us. Every farewell had been said, every regret had been spoken, and every sigh had been uttered. We left. I used the time to fill my eyes with pictures: how the path led behind a waterfall, the lake where the birch trees dipped down to the surface, the first sight of the sea lying like a sheet of polished metal away to my left. And at night I could not sleep for the visions. The great creative myths can be reworked to enlighten issues in contemporary times. I'm not trying to demythologize, because I know people need their stories, they need their fairy stories, and they need the heroes, and so to kick the crutches away without offering an alternative would be inhuman. But what I'm saying is, trust yourself. Fire, my loyal friend, will have told you that I killed a dragon. That is the way he saw it, and at the time I was of the same opinion. It seemed to me that what lived in the hills of Iceland could only be one of the old ones. Yet when we returned to their home, my kinswoman knew what had happened, and told me the truth of my actions. Now you tell us you have destroyed a dragon of the hills to the north, yet none has been heard of here until you came. And when you did the mighty deed, Roswitha and I both felt a wave of despair flooding through us, and a tearing of the heart, as if it were being broken within us. After this, my sister and I are forced to think that your presence in this country had roused our father, since you are close kindred and a man. Nothing else could have woken him from the sleep of decades, and now you have killed him. We wish you well, sister's son, but we can no longer keep you with us. A terrible blood guilt is in your hands, and if you stay, we must take revenge for our father's death. For me, he's the modern man. The one that everybody's talking about, this weird guy who wanders around cuddling babies, just the opposite of the ancient hero. He's the one who is trying to learn to live with the feminine side of his nature, because he's been brought up by women. It's actually quite strong in him that the feminine side of his nature is very clear, but the women that brought him up were not ordinary women, so he's been saved in that respect. But he is a man at odds with himself, and must reconcile his feminine side with his masculine warrior side. But Drust is not to be our saviour in this generation. He was born when the sun was growing strong and out of control. Our men must be phlegmatic. They must start their cycle in putrefaction and death in order to grow steadily. The men of fire and blood burn too fast, and in early manhood must die. If the gods are kind, they are reborn. Ian Foster, in an aspect of the novel that's floating around somewhere, he said that the great novels have got a mythological spine to them. So I'm quite unashamed about swiping myths from right, left and centre, pull them off the shelf, because that's what they're there for. in the early days of Christianity, it was very, very diverse, and this is why it failed politically, because there wasn't a unified voice. It was basically lots of little groups of people sitting around doing their own, working through their own psychological problems, if you want to put it that way, or developing their own individual groups' mystery, which was their tool for self-development. Women were given equal space with men, but the voice of established Christianity is raised loud and long against them and saying, no, it wasn't a force for good, it was just a bunch of people worshipping devils and stuff. There was a rather violent misogynist stream came up through when it started turning into an authoritarian system. And that's what I wanted to get that across, is that where did this woman-hating stuff come from? And where was this obsession with the idea that women were inferior creatures come from? I mean, it just doesn't make any kind of sense at all. So, that was when I wrote Very Mirthful Mornings on the Death of Elspeth McKee. Hoot, woman, you never confess to all that. You're like a parakeet that speaks words and hasn't the sense of them. What was it taught ye? Elspeth says, there was nobody taught me. Aye, and I'm the Queen of Paris. Flying! To demonise a particular group in society, then you would tell the public that they ate babies, that they copulated with demons, that they flew through the air, and quite often it was safer for the person who was accused to believe that, because it gave a stability and a meaning to their life, and it was probably better to die secure in the knowledge that you meant something, rather than to just fade away into nothingness. I'd do so fly through the air. The first time I did it, I was vomiting sick for 3 days after. It was naught to do with your skibbo. I flew on a cat and on a frog, and I saw the devil. The minister said it when I took that pin out the roof to show to wee Etty, and I put it in a cow's tit to get milk from it, that I was in the devil's hands, and there was no hope for me. High Street would have been pretty similar to this. By that time, Kukubri was beginning to spread, and she would have been required to give a statement to the men of the Privy Council, who, in fact, as it turned out, were local guys. So how long have you been here? Well, the beadle lifted me just before Halloween. You've been here since last Halloween? No, the year before that. You've been here 18 months? Mother of God, that's a scandal. I'm not to talk to you about the other prisoners. No a soul to plead in your defence. Something's got to be done about this. It's been better of late. They've given me more meat and more often since I confessed. Mint Lizzie, it's no recht. They cannot present a confession taken under inhuman treatment as evidence. They have taken it. Sian Hayton was formally told that she would be executed. And they stuffed her in a hole, back in the hole, and left her there until the most expeditious time to execute her. It was a theatre. It was a theatrical event. And so the burning was much more interesting visually. When I finished that made up their minds to execute me, I was troubled at first. Then I asked myself what I'd had to get home to. They went as well taking the thick off my roof. I've no friends to help mend it, and I've no penny to my name. My stock and my hens were lang since I walked off. I might as well get on with the burning. The only thing I can say, my name will be remembered. No money can see that at all. Attitudes do change, but only when they are clearly articulated and examined. Most attitudes are at a pre-conscious level, and therefore don't get examined, and therefore don't get changed. So you will find that things like, as I say, misogyny, as people's attitude to religion, as people's attitude to their rulers, change very slowly, if at all. God's seen all my poor life. He knows I meant me here.